morning and welcome to this next installment in the Emergency Management webinar series presented by Esri. My name is Chris McIntosh. I'm the Emergency Management Industry Manager here. And I'm joined today by Jeff Barani, the Technical Lead for Emergency Management, and John Petter, a Solution Specialist here at Esri for all things public safety. And today we're going to talk about mobile data collection for emergency management. The purpose of this webinar series is to provide updates on how to use ArcGIS to support emergency management and disaster response from various members of our public safety team. We do these in a regular cadence so that you can plan ahead for the next one and block that time. They're normally the first Thursday of every other month now. The next webinar will be in January. And the topic of that webinar will be applications for the command center, things like operations dashboard that you can use in your emergency operations center. Topics will vary. They could be broad, they could be discipline-wide, or they could be very specific on a single application or a single workflow. We will provide updates from the disaster response program and special events program so you can see how these types of tools and processes are being used in the real world every day. And as always, we're open to topics from you, the community, things you want to know about, learn more about, or questions that you need answered. So on to today's topic, mobile data collection for emergency management. Collecting data from the field is a problem for every emergency management agency. The ability to get that information from damage assessment teams and mobile teams going out, looking at how bad is bad, what's the impact of an incident, especially if that incident occurred at night and they're being deployed in the morning, is critical, and time is of the essence. Traditionally, this has been done by sending out teams with paper forms. They have to go out, they have to do the interviews, do the assessments, collect the information. All that information has to be brought back, has to be collated, has to be coded, and then it has to be converted into a digital format. That takes a lot of time. That time can delay response activities. It can delay getting administrative processes completed, like applications for presidential and federal aid, and it can just be very laborious and consume a lot of man hours. There are applications out there for you to speed this process up and allow you to, in virtually real time, get that information from the field and gain situational awareness into your emergency operations center so that you can respond more effectively, more efficiently, get people the aid they need more quickly, and get the resources that you need to effect a better response. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Barani, and he's going to start running through some of these applications that you have available to you and how to use them to facilitate that process. Jeff, over to you.
Great, thanks Chris. Good morning everyone. So this morning we're going to talk about a lot of the apps that we have for mobile data collection as we discussed. But we want to involve your participation today. So right now we've got a URL up on the screen, and Brenda's pasted this in the chat window for you. And we want you to open this up on your browser at home. And this uses our GeoForm application, and it's a way to input information, using a web-based application. And the example that we've got configured here is from a citizen damage reporting perspective. So basically, after a disaster would happen, citizens might, input that their information that their home or property was damaged, and this is a way to communicate that to the emergency management agencies and have them, help expedite the damage assessment process. So this is, the GeoForm is just one of the apps that we have available in our collection, and John Petter is going to use the results of what you guys put in this form later on in some of the demonstrations. So please take a few minutes now and open up this web application and pretend like you've experienced damage and you're using the GeoForm to put in this information. You'll see there's a couple of form things to fill out, and this is driven from what's in the feature service, and then you're able to click on the map in your location or enter in the location by lat long or even U.S. National Grid coordinates. So we want to have a little bit of fun with this today and invoke your participation in some of the demonstrations that you'll see in a little while. So while you're doing that, I want to give a quick overview of some of the apps. We've talked about in this webinar series previously the collector application and how we can use that for damage assessment, but really we want to kind of give a sense of the broader range of applications that are available to you. This is just to look at some of the apps available with ArcGIS across the platform, from the field to the office to public applications. And really what we want to focus on today is really the left-hand side of the screen, the set of field applications. And for me, I think it's really easy for me to think about the apps in kind of these 5 kind of key workflows. So I know that there's a lot of apps that come with a platform, and I think from the field perspective there's really 5 key ways and 5 key workflows to think about, and that's what we'll talk through today. Monitor, plan, coordinate, navigate, and capture. So those are really kind of the key workflows, and it all really starts with plan. And we've got a relatively new application called Workforce for GIS. It essentially allows us to better coordinate the activities of many crews in the field. We can assign specific tasks to teams in the field. We can monitor their progress. We can see where they are in real time and be able to have visibility into where they are and that type of thing. And so this is a relatively new application from Esri, and John will demonstrate this here in a few minutes. The Workforce app, available on iOS, Android, and as well as Windows. So a couple of the key workflows here is it helps you to optimize your workforce. Maybe you want to assign teams based on U.S. National Grid 1 kilometer cells. You want to monitor their progress. If a new or high priority task comes along, you can assign that to a particular team in the field, and then that task actually will open up in the appropriate form, whether that's Survey 123 or Collector, and so essentially integrates with some of the other applications that we have available as a part of the platform. Another key app that's out there is the Navigator app. This is also relatively new, and it helps to get workers to their location. So Navigate, as we talked about, was one of the key workflows here, and this Navigator app allows us to do that. So one of the differences here is this is actually a premium app, so there's an additional cost to this, and partly that's because it includes the street map data. You're able to download data for use offline at the state level to help you navigate to where you need to go to perform the work that you've been assigned from the workforce perspective. You can also customize this and integrate your own street network data if that's something that you have available to you. And this again works fully. It can work offline in a disconnected mode, and it integrates with the other apps, so we can kind of do things in a process and a set of steps and basically use the right tool for the job. So that's really where Navigator comes in to the process. So now from the capture perspective, we're going to look at a couple of different apps. So the Collector application has been around for some time, and it's what many of you may have been used to using and are familiar with using, as we've talked about in previous webcasts. Obviously we have a damage assessment template for Collector, and that's something that we've talked about. So again, this is something that is available. It's a native application, and it works on iOS, Android, or Windows, and it's really for map-centric field data collection. We can capture features, even related tables, upload photos or videos as attachments. You can have this integrate with your enterprise. And some of the more recent features are improved accuracy with integrating external receivers, and leveraging some of the other other GPS hardware devices and bring that right into the device for really high accurate data collection. So Collector is something that you've seen quite a bit, and just wanted to re-emphasize that that's one of the key workflows here from a capture perspective. Another app that we wanted to highlight today, and John will spend some time demonstrating this, is the Survey 123 app for ArcGIS. This is another application for capturing information, and there's another, it's really kind of more from a form-centric perspective, and allows you to set up forms almost kind of in a choose-your-own-adventure type of mode, and we can have very specific set of questions that can lead folks down a path paths. So it allows us to have more focused, data collection from a form-centric perspective. As you'll see here in a minute, we can publish these, forms, very easily using Excel and Excel, style sheets to publish this information. So it's very easy to create, very detailed forms with, domains that make it easier for your field workers to collect this information. And you'll see why this is so important here, later on in the demonstration. So this is the Survey 123 app is something that we'll focus on, quite a bit today. We also wanted to note that the GeoForm web app template is another tool that can be used from the capture workflow perspective. This allows us to input information in the field using a web-based form as opposed to a native application. So it doesn't necessarily require authentication. You can have this done anonymously if you choose to have input inputted in that way, and it supports crowdsourcing workflows, as many of you are working on now and inputting your data from your home or your office in support of this webcast. We just wanted to highlight this is another way of collecting information from the field, perhaps invoking the crowd to provide and support some of that information. Then we can monitor, activities that are going on and all this work that's being done in the field using the operations dashboard, for example. Getting those inputs from the field in real time, having that information, show up in a command center, so we can help, make sure that work is getting done in the key places at the right time. And really the operations dashboard is paired well with all of these capturing applications to see the inputs from the field in real time as events, transpire. So one other app from my monitoring perspective is Explore for ArcGIS. This is more kind of designed at the executive level. It provides the ability to have visibility into many of the maps and apps within inside the organization. On tablets or smartphones, there'll be additional work that's being put into this, app over the next year, and you'll see more improvements, come in with this app and with a release, early next year. So it's another great way to brief stakeholders with some of the presentation modes. So just wanted to note that that's one of the other apps that's out there available from a field collection perspective. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, John Petter, to pick up with some of the work that you all have submitted and go through a demonstration of some of these apps and show you how these can be used to support your important workflows from an emergency management perspective. So go ahead and take it away, John.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So we've got a lot of different mobile apps, and I'm going to sort of walk through them right now. There's going to be quite a few moving parts here, but I'm going to try and give you a good idea of how they work, how to use them, and then how they integrate together. So first things first, let's see what we've got from our GeoForm. So it looks like we've got quite a few folks out there reporting on GeoForm, which is good. Oh wow, look at this, all the way down in South America. He's reporting down here, so we can click on all of these, of course, and this is just right from our GeoForm, and just bring it into our web map. Excellent, thank you very much for playing along. So what I have here is a web map with a couple of services on it, and this is the citizen damage reporting which you're using in that GeoForm. But the reason I wanted this to be in the workflow today was that it's going to be part of Workforce. And if I've got citizen reports coming in, how do I dispatch workers and monitor worker status going to these specific reports here to verify them and bring back additional information. So the first app we're going to actually work with today is Workforce for ArcGIS. To access this app, it's simply workforce.arcgis.com. When you sign in, if you're already logged into your organizational account, it'll use that and ask if you want to sign into that identity, or if not, you can just sign right in. But if you go into the workforce for ArcGIS and take a little look through here, there's a lot of information here about the app itself, how it works, how it's used, and there's some examples in here. So I would just suggest, if you're not familiar at all with Workforce, go to the website and just take a little look through before you dive in. So right here I'm already logged into Workforce, and this is a project I made yesterday. But rather than just show you that, I want to show you kind of how easy it is to build a project from scratch and what it does. So I'm going to create a new project right here for you. And we can put in a name for it and some summary information so we understand what this project was for. So the first thing Workforce does is it goes through the creating a project. What's actually happening in the background is it's creating a folder to house all the products, several feature services, and several maps, web maps, are all being created in a folder. In addition to that, it's also creating a group as well for you to actually assign workers to a group. So here's step one of the setup. And now I can enter an assignment types. So think of Workforce as a simple dispatch and tracking application for assignments. So some of the assignments that we're going to want is, I've got all these points out here. We've even got someone swimming in the ocean. And we're going to want to be able to assign workers to these to verify the extent of damage. So we'll have our first assignment type. We'll do verify field collection. And maybe we actually want to have something along the lines of an assignment for a USAR. So we'll do an urban search and rescue assignment. And you can add as many assignments as you like in here and define your own assignment types. Next to you, I may see it flashing on the screen, is users. And under users, this is where I get to assign users to my Workforce project. If I go ahead and add Jeff in here, I can select a role for him, and he can either be a dispatcher sending people out into the field, or he can be a mobile worker. So I'm going to assign Jeff as a mobile worker. I think I've got Stacy active today. And we'll have Stacy also as a mobile worker. And that's really all you need to do. From here you can open the project and go. There's also an advanced mode right here which we'll look at. There's location tracking, so I can enable location tracking for the workers when they're working, and I can enable that up to 30-second tracking increments. And this will work on the app even in the background. So unlike the tracking that you probably know about in Collector, where Collector has to be the topmost app on your mobile device, Workforce will actually collect data in the background for a worker that is set to a working status. And I'll show you the different statuses on workers in a minute. The other one here is app integration as well, and I'll show you that, but basically what we can do is integrate a specific Survey 123 survey or a collector map to be integrated with our app. I won't go through this at this time. I've already got one set up in the other project. But from here I can open my project, and I'm actually now ready to dispatch workers. You'll see I've got the location status of a couple of workers here. So here's Jeff, and there's Stacy, and you can see that they're both active and in working mode right now. I could now create an assignment on the map. I can just either click to create an assignment right here. I can choose the assignment type, which we've already defined earlier, assign it to a worker, give it a priority, a date and time, and then actually assign this. So that's how simple it is to actually build one of these projects. But what I really want to do now is just go back and show you the project that I created yesterday. So this is the EM damage reporting project. If I go in here and take a look at the advanced settings in this one, you'll see that I've actually integrated a Survey 123 Emergency Management Workshop Preliminary Damage Assessment app with this project. So let me go ahead and open this project. One of the other things I've done is I added the layer from the geoform to the web map. So there's nothing magic about this, it's just a simple web map in the background that I've added the service to. So let me just take you behind the scenes a little bit and we'll show you how what was created and how this works. So this is the folder in my org and my ArcGIS Online organization. And you can see that I've created several web maps, and there's assignments and a dispatchers feature service, a location feature service, and a workers feature service. And these are all added to my web map, which is what is being presented to me in Workforce right here as the dispatcher. So this is the dispatcher's web map. What I've done is I've added the citizen damage reporting layer to the dispatcher's web map. So now as the damage reports come in, which is from you folks submitting these reports, they're coming right into Workforce. So I could take any of these and click on these, and I can not only read exactly what it is, just like any map feature, but I can also create an assignment right from this. So I can now create an assignment, pick an assignment type. So here I can do the verify the citizen report. I can assign it to one of my workers. So let's assign this one to, oh, Jeff's offline right here. Let me assign this to Stacy to do. Medium, I can pick a date and a time for her to complete that. I can also add an ID if I wish for what the work order ID is, and a description of what I want Stacy to do when she gets there. I can also add an attachment, so if I had a picture that came in, I can select that and have her go and verify that. And then I can just simply create the assignment. So once the assignment is created, I've got a list of workers. I've got Stacy has one assignment, I have none, and these guys are offline. And under assignments, I've got a couple of different assignments out here, and as soon as Stacy accepts this assignment, the status here will turn from assigned to in progress. But it also lets me track her location live out there in the field. So let's see if I can bring up my phone and show you what it looks like from the worker's perspective when they actually get an assignment in Workforce. So if we go into the Workforce app, these are the different projects that I have available, and here's my current project. I don't have any assignments currently, but I can go ahead and create myself an assignment, and that should come on and directly come right up on my phone. Let me zoom out and find one of your. Let me assign myself way out here to Twin Falls and then create an assignment. I will assign that to myself, and I'll make it a high priority and create the assignment. So what we're going to look in workers here is that I'm being tracked because I'm online and I have one assignment, but on my phone I can actually change my working status to on a break or not working. And when I'm on a break, I don't get tracked. So it allays some of those fears of people saying people are tracking me. If you're on a break or offline, you'll see that right here in the app it's reflected that I'm on a break. I can change that status now to working again and go back online. And you'll also see that citizen report assignment came in for me to do. So now I can start my assignment. And as I showed you earlier on one of the on the advanced tab, what I can actually do is now when I get to I can go to my assignment with Navigator, and this will invoke the Navigator app right on my device. And again, this is some of the offline mapping tools. And if you also notice at the top, it's warning me Workforce is tracking my location. So again, we're actually letting people know that we're tracking them. We're not just doing this covertly. If I go back to Workforce and I get to my location, I can now open Survey 123, and it'll actually open the survey that I associated with this particular application in the advanced mode, and this is the survey 123 where I can now go ahead and actually start to do my individual assistance and go ahead and submit a survey right here all online on the phone. And I can go ahead and send in my survey. When I'm done with my survey, I can go back to Workforce and then finish my particular assignment. So I can look at assignments. You can see now the status of the assignments here that we have. We can filter these, and we can also look at the workers' status. Something else that Workforce has in the background is a lot of information on the particular project itself. So we can go into the projects. Oops, sorry. We can go into the My Projects. And we should be able to look at the reporting right here. I think I may have to step back into this one in a second for the reporting function. The next thing I wanted to show you in Workforce, sorry, I just tripped over myself here this morning. There we go. Okay, there we are. There's the tracking right there, which I wanted to show you is the little tracking feature of each individual person. So we can have that tracking real-time updated every 30 seconds. Now the tracking and all those reports can be brought real-time right into Dashboard. So this is what we have going on in Dashboard. We can see Jeff's out here in Denver, and I'm at home today in Los Angeles. But we've also got all these different incidents come in, which you have entered. And we can quickly and easily go to these incidents. And we have now an overall status of the damage assessments which have been done, how many we've completed with our online field workers and our surveys, and workers by type, who's active, and tracking them. So we can even now, if Jeff was moving, we could follow Jeff, and we could just keep a ping around him in the dashboard to make sure that he's safe in the field. The next one I wanted to show you is Survey 123. So Survey 123 is a newer app. It's, as Jeff mentioned, it's more of a form-centric application rather than the map-centric application. In fact, if you don't want to, you don't even have to have a map up on the screen with Survey 123. So Survey 123 uses some smart form technology. Some folks might know it as skip logic. So it only asks the questions that are relevant to the answers that you've provided. So for instance, if you're in front of a building and the question is it multi-tenant or single-tenant, if it's a single-family dwelling, it's not going to ask you any additional questions about how many people live there. If it's a multi-tenant and you select that answer, it's actually going to prompt you some additional information for the folks that live there. So it's a very good tool for field collection, and it works offline right out of the box. And it's very easy to put projects together. So there's two ways of really creating projects here. You can create a survey right in the web. So I don't even need any desktop tools. I don't need desktop. I don't need anything else. I can actually create a brand new feature service right here on the web from scratch. So I'll do a test project. I'll mark this one for deletion later and create. So right here, Survey 123 is creating a folder with a code snippet and a feature service in the background. And then what I'll be able to do is just very simply drag and drop elements onto my form. And here's my list of some common question elements on the right. I have single text, single choice, drop down, etc. But I can create my form simply by dragging and dropping and my questions right over here. So I can label the question. And then I can add an additional question. I can even do multiple questions right in here. And I can put the choices in and predefine what I want as I build it. And this makes it very, very easy and quick to simply add a map, which is a geopoint, or even an image for attachments, and I can author my whole form right here on the web and publish this out very quickly and easily. The second piece of Survey 123 is a bit more of an advanced mode where you can define a lot more elements in there, which is the Survey 123 Connect app. So the Survey 123 Connect app downloads onto your desktop, and then from there you can design your survey right here in the app. And it actually uses XLS forms to actually drive the survey. So it's all very easy to do in a non-programming environment just using Excel. So I can open up the form here in Excel, and this is where all my data collection is actually defined, and I have the type of field, the name of it, a label associated with it, and I have some other fields over here which I can do default values. Is it a required field? What is the appearance of that field? And what is the relevancy? So it'll only show this field and ask the question if the relevancy is there from a previous question. You can define domains or drop-down lists right here on the second tab of the form, and you can customize this very easily. So the form I'm showing you here is actually from FEMA, and it's their preliminary damage assessment form. So it's saying there's a new incident that just happened right now. We need to dispatch field workers out there to collect a whole new set of data, and we need to quickly bring up a new damage assessment. If I click the New Survey, I've got a choice of templates to choose from. The one that I'm particularly excited about is the Community option here, where we have these predefined templates. And there's the basic damage assessment that you've probably seen before, and this damage assessment here is sort of the same one you've seen for that we use for collector. One of the ones that is exciting here that I think Jeff is going to talk about is the FEMA preliminary damage assessment template. So I can just simply select that and click Create a Survey, and it'll download that right to my computer and build me instantly a new survey based upon all the questions and the schema that the folks at FEMA have put together, so that now you've got an individual assistance, and notice it's asking me individual assistance questions, and a public assistance, and it's asking me public assistance questions. And I can go down and fill this out in the field. The easy way now to publish this is to simply hit the Publish button, and I can publish this right up into my organization, and within minutes I've now got a very complex damage assessment form. You can also customize this for your own use, so you can add some of your own questions to that, and then if I've got this already on my machine, I can simply create a new survey from an existing survey right here in the app. So I found that Survey 123 is a very powerful way of very quickly bringing new services into your organization that can now be added into the workforce. So again, it's sort of in the background here. We've got a group which was created for workforce, and we can share different information into that, maybe the maps and apps and other layers. And as I did here in the workforce map, I added the citizen reporting so that we could use those now as assignments to actually send folks out to. So if I go back into my content here, back behind the scenes again, you'll see that I have my emergency management workforce project with the maps and the apps associated with that. And down the bottom is where my surveys are created. It always starts out with survey dash, and here's the surveys. And what we have with the survey is a simple feature layer that is created, and a little code snippet that goes along with it. So that's the Survey 123. Now also the next workflow here would be back to collector. So if I associate collector in my project, as well as the survey 123, I can now actually invoke collector right from that same field collection. The difference with collector is when I associate the form here with collector is I can actually verify key data in the field and edit existing data, whereas with the survey 123 what I'm doing is creating new data. So for instance, if we went back to the damage assessment here, I could do a field verification on this, and I could have another field in here that folks aren't seeing. Oops, that wasn't a good one. That folks aren't seeing on their geoform, but I can see it on my collector app, so I could actually go ahead and verify that as a field collection and say field verified. So that's the so we've got collector, we have workforce, and we have survey 123, and those are sort of the new suites of mobile apps along with Navigator to actually get you there. And the key to Navigator again is having your own roads and your own offline mapping. So if you're in a remote area with unmapped roads, you can actually add those to Navigator, which is something some of the other online directional map tools don't do. So there's sort of your overview of the mobile app suite. And Jeff, I think at this point, back to you.
Great. Thanks, John. Brenda, if you can switch the presentation over. Actually, so that was a great overview of some of the new tools and kind of how this can be used in a workflow or a scenario. John, do you kind of want to spend some time kind of recapping some of the decision points that you kind of came up with and how you put together some of the forms here?
Sure. The thing now is, we have several different methods for collecting data mobilely, whether that's on a web browser or on a mobile device. So just to sort of try and simplify it a little bit, we put this little diagram together to help you at least make some initial decisions about which app might be best for the type of data collection that you're doing. So one of the things on collector is collector will collect lines and polygons as well as points. So if you need to do lines and polygons, you need to use collector. If it's just point data, well, collector will do that as well. But the differentiator here is collector will edit existing data. So if we go back to that field collection, I could actually go out and edit that field collection data and verify it rather than having to create a new set of data. If I just need to collect new data points, then I can consider survey 123, or I can consider geoform. So a couple of differentiators here is the survey 123 has the skip logic on it. Survey 123 is offline right out of the box, works on all the different mobile apps. Geoform is a web-based, so you need to be really connected to use geoform. And the other one there on geoform is it can be public-facing. So as you all clicked on the link today, there was no authentication. You weren't prompted for authentication to get into that geoform. We can make it public. Whereas Survey 123 right now is a more authoritative collection tool, so we want to have identity to understand who collected the data and to make sure that we have accountability for that. So this is just a simple diagram, and it doesn't list all the different options of why, where, and when, but it's a good starting point to get you pointed to the right app for the right field collection.
Great, thanks, John. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of use this to kind of recap what you've seen today and help you kind of understand some of the decisions to basically use the right tool for the job. The good news is that there's a lot of apps out there that provide a lot of great very specific functionality, and we want to make sure you can help you understand some of the decisions to go through and making the right choice for making things easier to use for your field staff. As John mentioned, and we wanted to spend some time just talking about this. Inside the community example, as John showed, FEMA has been leading an effort in working with their partners to create a standard, for lack of a better word, A set of forms for individual assistance and public assistance. Grady Joseph and team have done a great job working with the user community, getting their feedback, leveraging the information that's in the FEMA's Damage Assessment Operation Manual, and putting together this set of forms that is a great starting point. So it's essentially the programmatic minimums for collecting this information. And this is currently one of the community templates available with Survey 123. So this is available to you today in a way to get started, very quickly using FEMA's, standard, forms. So again, as John mentioned, it has the skip logic inside of it that will only, provide questions based on answers to previous questions. It can really help streamline the process. This is something that you can add to. You can, modify if there's more information that your jurisdiction would like to collect. This can certainly be updated, and essentially is just a starting point for collecting this information. And obviously, as Chris McIntosh mentioned at the beginning of this call, collecting information in a modern way using smartphones, really helps to lead to better data, faster declarations, better interoperability between systems, and obviously better analytics and a more successful response. So we definitely see a lot of value in using things in a standard way. So this is I really appreciate what FEMA and Grady have done to work with the community to develop this form, and they're definitely looking for feedback or suggestions. So provided Grady's email address here at the bottom of the slide, and we'll get this out to you in the show notes afterwards and some of the details. But again, one of the community templates that's out there provided by FEMA for the Survey 123 application. So also wanted to mention and highlight a couple of additional applications. So one of the solution templates that's out there and available is called the Crowdsourced Reporter application. And really the purpose is to submit, problems or observations, from the community. Is there debris on the road? Is a power line down? That type of thing. This can, essentially is a way to mobilize the crowd as sensors for you to report information, and essentially kind of deputize them almost as GIS folks in the field, putting in information. And this can also work with Crowdsource Manager, one of the other tools to go through the application or go through the results and help manage some of the things you're seeing from the field. And one of the recent deployments of this was during the flooding in Louisiana. They used this specific template to report, in this case, on the status of businesses, whether they're open or closed. And really kind of compelling way of putting the crowd to work and reporting in this type of information. One of the things that they found there is, commercial businesses, big box stores like, Lowe's, Walmart, Home Depot, those type of stores actually had a separate app where they could input their information in bulk, because this just kind of became a rallying point for all this information being, kept up to date. So again, another kind of compelling tool, another arrow in your quiver, if you will, from a field data collection using this particular solution template. Another one of the tools that we wanted to highlight that's out there is the photo survey solution template. So this is a way to put the crowd to work in terms of reporting what they observe from pictures. These could be street level photos that were taken. These can be, aerial images taken overhead, or as you'll see in a sec, even Civil Air Patrol, photos. So when a visitor comes to the site, they'll log in, with simple credentials, which could even just be, social, like Facebook or whatever, or simply log in as a guest and report what they see and observe from these photos. So it's another way to put the crowd to work in terms of submitting and filling out information. And again, there was another example of this used during the flooding in Louisiana a couple of months ago. So here's an example of the photo survey app in action, leveraging some of the Civil Air Patrol photos that were taken shortly after the event. So you can see on the right-hand side that there is a couple of key questions to answer, and with big buttons to make it easier to get the responses, and also get the responses here in a standard way. If there's damage, is the road passable, that type of thing. And obviously, from these pictures, we can see that from this particular picture, for instance, we can see that some of the roads are impassable, in this area. So again, just wanted to give you a sense of how you can see this information and then use this particular application to get information in from the field, leveraging some of the data that might be available, like aerial photos such as this, or cat photos, or street level photos. So again, another set of tools in your arsenal. So as we normally do during these webcasts, also wanted to highlight examples from the community. I think this is a great way to learn, really inspiring to see this technology in use for important missions by folks in the user community. And we curate examples in this particular ArcGIS Online group. This is a public group, something that's out there and available to you. And if you have additional entries to add in or submit, please let us know, send us an email, and we'll get those added. So obviously a lot of things recently with Hurricane Matthew. So the city of Charleston, seemed like they're very prepared for this event and put together a story map journal of information for the public, and that was a great example and use of the technology. Horry County used imagery from drones to show the differences in beach erosion in a swipe map. And that's a very kind of compelling example. And using the digital surface model option from drone information to be able to get a sense of how bad the beach erosion was after the hurricane. And another example that we put together was an impact summary map from the new potential storm surge information that was available for NOAA. So this was a new map service from NOAA's collection of ArcGIS server services that was available for Hurricane Matthew, and as each advisory was available, we generated an impact summary map to show the potential impact to people and businesses, as the storm buzzsawed up the east coast of the United States. So again, just a couple of examples to check out for you, from the user community, and there's much more inside this examples group inside ArcGIS Online. So John, do you want to spend a few minutes talking about this special event?
Yeah, sure. I will talk first about the Iron Man, and then Jeff, if we could just step back to my screen afterwards. I've just sort of realized where I stumbled earlier and what I wanted to show. So this is the Iron Man World Championships in Kona, Hawaii. You have 2,300 athletes, over 140.6 miles of course. On top of that, you have over 20,000 spectators in place as well, which we need to keep safe. Obviously, it's a very high-level event as far as worldwide publicity, NBC cameras, etc. So this is what happens in the background that the athletes never see. We have the Race Operations Center set up in the back of a hotel. And what you're seeing in the top left-hand picture here is a large operations dashboard that's keeping track of all the incidents, both athlete incidents and medical tent feeds, all coming in there to a central dashboard. So we've got tracking of assets in the field, medical assets, even bike repair mechanics. So, and then what's going on in medical tents, so we need to understand medical transports to hospitals and what's going on in the medical tent. And this is all run actually with 3 dispatchers at the front. You have 3 dispatchers and 3 radio operators, and they're using a configuration of Web App Builder to enter all the incidents as they come in via the radio or via telephone, and that also gets added to the data set and all comes up in the dashboard and gives that sort of overall operations view. The dashboard which you're seeing animated there at the very bottom, or you saw animated, lists things like the incidents that are happening or medical incidents that haven't been updated in the last 5 minutes. So it's drawn the attention to the operators in the Incident Command Center or the Race Operations Center of incidents that maybe need some attention to make sure that no one gets dropped off the list there. But we're tracking all sorts of metrics during the race, and we've been supporting this event for several years now, and again we had a good successful deployment this year. We always learn something new and bring something back from this event, so it's a very good relationship.
Great, thanks John. Brendan, do you want to switch it over to John real quick just to show one last thing?
So where I got stopped a little earlier was I was in Workforce and I should have really been in Survey 123. What I wanted to show on the Survey 123 is once you've collected the information, you don't have to now bring it into a dashboard to show the analytics. If you go right into the surveys here, there's an analyze right here on the screen. And what this will do, it actually says how many people have answered the questions, what percentage. This is very much like a SurveyMonkey back end where it's the count, the percentages, what caused the damage, who's answered what questions are answered the most often. And all this is available as you're creating the surveys. This is real time. As people are entering data into here, this is all coming in right now so you can see exactly what's going on with your data. You can even click on the Data tab as well and get an overview of your data, including a map and a way you can export it right out to a CSV, shapefile, or a file geodatabase. So the Survey 123 provides a lot of functionality other than just the form and the field collection. It actually gives you insight into what's happening in the field and who's collecting what. So that was the missing piece that I wanted to show, Jeff.
Great, thanks, John. So Brenda will flip it back over. Yeah, if there's any more questions, feel free to use the chat window. Some of you have been entering in questions. In just a few minutes we'll talk through those in addition to the ones we entered into the chat. So we're getting close to the end of the time. A couple of other things we wanted to highlight. Just a reminder to please update your maps and apps with the new ArcGIS Online set of services, as we're going to retire the TM services set of live feeds at the end of the year. So just a public service announcement to remind you to update your sources for this data. All of these are available now as a part of ArcGIS Online that you've been used to using over the years from TM services, but we're going to retire that set of services at the end of the year. Also just wanted to plug a couple of our events. We're running a public safety symposium series this fall. Many of us just returned from a successful event in Sacramento yesterday. Thanks to everyone that attended there in Sacramento, and 2 more cities coming up later this fall. So Denver will be Monday, November 14th, and we'll be in Philadelphia on Friday, December 9th. So if you're in the area, please join us for this informative series. A big part of our public safety team will be there together, in addition to compelling keynote speakers. So please join us for these events if you're in the area, and we'll make sure to share the URL with you with the information from this webcast. So as we talked about, there's a lot of great sets of applications that are available and out there today. A lot of apps to help you collect information from Collector, Survey 123, Geoform. You've seen through Workforce how you can optimize your field crews and assign tasks, track their location, make sure to keep them safe. So a lot of great information that was presented today. As Chris mentioned, we'll be running these webinars every other month. So the next one will actually be next year, so January 5th. We'll talk about apps for the command center and the operations dashboard and the updates that are coming there, as well as the web app builder. So please mark your calendars for January 5th. Visit our public safety webinars page to keep up to date on all of the public safety webinars, not just emergency management, but fire, law enforcement, CAD 911. There's many different webcasts in this series. Feel free to contact us with ideas or suggestions or feedback, and we've provided our emails here. Follow us on Twitter, and make sure to mark your calendars for the Homeland Security Summit and now the National Security and Public Safety Summit next year, or the weekend before the user conference, which is now the second week of July in 2017. So with that, I'm going to open up to questions. So John, is there any kind of common set of questions that you want to talk about, some kind of common things you've seen based on what folks have been asking?
Yeah, I think one of the ones there has to do with identity. So again, we'll go back to sort of the decision tree earlier of, do I use Collector, do I use Survey 123, do I use the Geoform? So all of those can be secured, and all of those have the ability to have a named user, so you must provide identity. So you don't have to make a geoform public. It's an option if you want to make it public. But both Survey123 and Collector do require authentication. So they're not apps that are going to be intercepted. You've got to require authentication either to a portal or an ArcGIS Online organization to make sure that the person collecting the data is authentic and part of your organization. The option there is that the geoform can be made public, but it's an option. It's not by default public. That's one of the ones I've sort of seen most commonly on my questions that have come in so far, Jeff.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, John. So the other question that just came in here, John, is can you host your Survey123 data in a portal instance as opposed to ArcGIS Online?
Yeah, you can host that in Portal. I believe it's 10.4, maybe 10.3.1. I think it's 10.3.1. But yes, you can host Survey123 in Portal securely on your own infrastructure, on your own hardware to do that, as well as using the leverage of ArcGIS Online. The one thing there on using online is the scalability. So if you have a major incident and you have thousands of field workers and your portal is only set up on some lighter hardware, you can still scale out and use ArcGIS Online to collect the data and then pull that back into Portal. So you can use a hybrid approach for that when you actually need to use scalability and high availability, which you get automatically in ArcGIS Online versus your Portal. But I think to answer the question is yes, you can.
Great. And another common question we got is, can you assign multiple users the same task in Workforce?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Tasks are independent, so you can make tasks for every user. So it wouldn't be exactly the same task to two people, but two tasks of the same type in the same location, you can assign to multiple workers. One of the ways for deployment for Workforce is when teams of workers go into the field and that team, one of the workers there is being tracked on Workforce and has the assignment, then the team completes the surveys, and you could have multiple surveys being done, then the team leader completes the assignment. So each assignment is a discrete assignment, but you can have the same location assignment type assigned to multiple workers. I hope that clears that question.
No, great, thanks, John. So let's review which apps require identity and login. So that's Workforce, that's Navigator, that's Collector. So those three apps require to have a named user account within inside ArcGIS Online. Navigator is actually a premium app. So that's the only app that doesn't just automatically come with your ArcGIS Online subscription. There's an additional cost for that. As we kind of demonstrated at the beginning of this webcast, the geoform can be set up in a way where you don't have to log in, so there's no credentials needed to submit information. We certainly appreciate all of the input from users. It was great to see everyone's input across the U.S. and across the globe, actually, as you're inputting this information. And then some folks are asked, what's kind of the best place to start? So oftentimes we see that folks will start with a Collector application and use that as a starting point for their field collection activities. But as you've seen, there's a set of tools that are out there that provide different options to you to provide more advanced logic, like the skip logic in Survey123 or that type of thing. So, John, any other kind of questions or comments you'd have here in closing?
I would honestly, if you can, spend a little time just on the websites for Workforce, for Survey, for Collector, and take a look through some of the documentation. Workforce is actually incredibly easy to use, so don't be intimidated by setting it up. Just launch a project. It builds everything for you, and try it out. Go track a few people, make some assignments, and see what the difference are between the different assignments. For instance, if you put a critical assignment in, you're forced to actually say, yes, I'm going to accept this assignment because it's critical. And in a given time, you can have those criticals timed out on a dashboard so that you can actually see that a critical assignment hasn't been accepted in a given period of time. So experiment with not only the workforce, Survey 123 and Collector, Geoform, but how you can now bring those maps back into information products for people who are running those operations like dashboard, much like we did on the medical scenario there for Ironman, and we have the medical incidents that hadn't been updated in a few minutes pop up into a specific panel in dashboard. You could do the same with critical assignments in workforce. So we've given you all the tools, and I think they're not difficult to configure, but some of them do take a little thought to make sure that you're delivering a clear, concise information product to your command staff or the operators or the dispatchers that are actually running your operations.
Great, thanks John. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. I know some of you may have been up late watching the baseball game. We appreciate you joining. We appreciate you participating in the little exercise. We hope that you've learned something in terms of using some of the apps that are available from Esri to support your mobile data collection needs, and we hope you have a good day and join us again in January for our next installment of the Emergency Management webinar series. Thank you and good day.